Have you ever felt like your life didn't fall apart dramatically but quietly? Like nothing went wrong, you just woke up one day and realized that you've been surviving instead of living? This book is about that feeling. The Unlikely Pilgrimage of Harold Fry is about an ordinary retired man who stepped out to post a letter and somehow ends up walking across England. No training, no big plan, no idea what he's really doing. Just this quiet belief that if he keeps walking, maybe somehow he can make peace with his life or with the life that he already lived. And I know what you might be thinking, that doesn't sound dramatic, but that's exactly why it works, because this isn't a story about adventure, it's a story about regret, about emotional silence, about all things we've never say because we don't know how. This book doesn't shout at you, it whispers. And by the end, it leaves you asking questions you didn't expect. What have I been carrying around quietly? What have I avoided saying? And is it ever too late to start walking towards honesty? That's what this video is about. If you're new here, welcome. This video is part of a project I'm calling A Book from Every Country. The goal isn't just to read globally, it's to understand how different cultures feel, how they grieve, how they love, how they endure silence. And for England, this book couldn't be more perfect because it doesn't just take place in England, it reflects English emotional culture itself, the politeness, the restraint, the long pauses between words, but what it says about being human. That part is universal. So whether you've read this book or never heard it before, if you've ever felt stuck in your own life, if you ever wondered what might happen if you finally let yourself feel, then stay with me. Let's talk about this quiet little story and why does it hit so hard and what it might be trying to teach us. Some stories like this don't shout, they don't demand your attention, they don't try to impress you. They just walk alongside you. That's how The Unlikely Pilgrimage of Harold Fry feels to me. It's quiet, gentle, and almost unassuming. And then one day you realize it's been asking you questions about your own life this entire time. So today, I don't want to lecture you about this book, but I want to talk about it. Because Harold Fry isn't a hero, he's just human. And that's exactly why this story works. Let's talk about Harold. So, who is Harold Fry, honestly? He's probably someone you recognize. He's polite, he avoids conflict, he doesn't like making a fuss. He's lived most of his life believing that if he keeps things contained, if he stayed quiet, agreeable, and emotionally restrained, everything somehow will be okay. And here's what makes this book quietly devastating. Harold doesn't ruin his life through cruelty, he ruins it through silence, through not saying what he really feels, through not asking questions. He's afraid of the answers too, through mistakenly emotional restraint for strength. And that feels uncomfortably familiar. One letter, one step, one unlikely choice. The story begins with a letter from a woman named Queenie Hennessy from Harold's past. She tells him that she's dying. Harold does what he always does, or he always done. He writes back politely, he keeps it short, he doesn't open himself up. But then, on the way to post the letter, he just keep walking. No plan, no equipment, no logical explanation that fully makes sense. Just this quiet, irrational belief if he keeps walking, something will work out. And I love that the book doesn't justify this, because grief rarely makes sense. Walking instead of talking, Harold walking alone road stretching ahead. Harold doesn't know how to talk about his feelings, but his body knows exactly what to do. So he walks. And the further he goes, the more the past catches up with him. Memories he avoided, guilt he buried, love he never expressed it properly. Each step becomes a kind of emotional confession. And honestly, this feels very human. How many times have we gone for a walk because sitting still felt unbearable? Sometimes movement is the only language we have. Something very English is happening here. Now, this is where I want to pause, because there's something important happening beneath the surface of this story. This book feels deeply English, not in a romantic postcard way, but it's emotional culture. Harold is shaped by English restraint. He apologizes constantly, he avoids burdening others, he believes privacy is polite and emotional openness is a bit much. There is this unspoken rule guiding his life. Don't overshare, don't impose on others, don't make people uncomfortable, and the book isn't mocking that. It's gently asking, what does this cost us? Because Harold isn't emotionally empty, he's emotionally contained, and contained emotions don't disappear, they just turn inwards. Even the journey itself feels English. This isn't sweeping cinematic wilderness, it's footpath, villages, bus stops, rain. Ordinary places, the kind of landscape you pass without noticing. And that's the point. The countryside reflects Harold himself. Weathered, modest, enduring. This is a story about emotional endurance, disguised as politeness. Along the way, Harold meets strangers, and none of them are there to fix him. They are awkward, kind, judgmental, lonely, just humans. And through them, the book reminds us everyone is carrying something heavy. You just don't always get to see it. While Harold walks forward, Maureen, his wife, stays behind. And this is important because the book refuses to pretend that personal growth is painless. Maureen isn't cruel, she's also grieving. She lived through years inside emotional silence, especially around the loss of their son. Harold leaving without any explanation forces her to confront everything. Everything she's been surviving instead of processing. Healing doesn't happen in isolation, it sends ripples. At its core, this novel is about unexpressed grief, the quiet kind, the kind you were told to get on with. And here's one of the book's most painful truths. Grief you don't speak doesn't vanish. It hardens, it shapes marriage, it shrinks lives, it turns love into routine. Harold walks, crack that open, slowly, painfully, but honestly. People often call this book spiritual. And I get why, but Harold isn't walking because of religion. He's walking because he believes instinctively that trying matters, that effort matters, that showing up matters, even if it's late, even if it's clumsy, even if it doesn't change the outcome. In a world obsessed with results, this book quietly says, presence is enough. Just be there for someone. This is where the book becomes universal. Yes, it's rooted in English culture, in politeness, in emotional restraint, in endurance, but so many of us have been taught similar lessons. Don't be dramatic, don't burden other people, don't say too much. And the book gently asks us all, what have you been carrying quietly? And what might happen if I stopped managing my emotions and started feeling them? Harold Fry doesn't become extraordinary. He becomes honest. And maybe that's the most radical thing a person can do. This book stays with us because it understands how people actually live. Quietly, messily, full of love they don't know how to express. And it leaves us with One final question: what would happen if you took the next step?